The rain fell without sound that night, though records say no storm was forecast. At exactly 3:03 a.m., the lights in the Vatican's secret archives flickered, then died. A man named Lucien Vail, former Jesuit and disgraced scholar of the Pontifical Academy, was seen fleeing into the night, clutching a blackened scroll sealed in wax that bore no identifiable crest, only the mark of an Ouroboros swallowing not its tail but a key. What he had found, he would later claim in a trembling voice, was proof that the world has never been free. Lucien disappeared 2 days later, in Marseille. His hotel room was left untouched, save for a single fingerprint burned into the brass of the bathroom mirror. Investigators dismissed it as a hoax, as they always do when the trail becomes too dangerous to follow. But the footage, what little was recovered, showed him speaking frantically to someone off camera. His final words before the screen dissolved into static were, "It's not the governments. They answer to something older, something buried in the foundation of civilization itself." The story of this society does not begin with the Freemasons or the Bavarian Illuminati. It does not start in Sumer, Egypt, or even Atlantis. Their origin is older than names. Whispers from clay tablets unearthed beneath Göbekli Tepe suggest the existence of a brotherhood known only as Ordo Eternum, the Eternal Order. They were not worshippers, they were watchers, architects of time, guardians of a covenant that predates religion. What that covenant entailed has been partially decoded through fractal mathematical sequences hidden in the proportions of ancient megaliths. Every few centuries, when the balance of power begins to tip too far, the order intervenes. Never directly, always through agents who are unaware of their true allegiance. Napoleon's sudden change in military strategy after visiting the Great Pyramid? Not coincidence. The stroke that silenced Stalin days before Operation Dropshot was finalized, not nature. These were corrections, calibrations, subtle edits in the fabric of world history. But perhaps the most damning clue came from an event in 1933, when a librarian named Anton de Witt, working at the Royal Dutch Archives, uncovered a book that had no title, no author, and no listed publication. Bound in volcanic glass and smelling faintly of ozone, the book detailed meetings that occurred in temples that have no maps, between men whose names appear in no history, whose deeds echo through every major turning point of human civilization. When De Witt attempted to publish his findings, his press exploded before the first print run could be completed. His ashes were found into geometric patterns on the ceiling. By now you begin to feel it, don't you? That deep humming recognition in your bones, the sense that something has always been off. That wars don't end when they should, that leaders rise and fall not because of the people but because of unseen levers. The eternal order has never needed to show its face. Instead, it encodes itself in rituals, in architecture, in sigils mistaken for decoration. Look again at the UN emblem. Notice the divisions. Count the layers. Compare it to the seal of the Ordo Eternum found etched onto a stone beneath the Mariana Trench in 2012, classified by the U.S. Navy within 48 hours. A pale man named Caro was the first to draw connections between 20th century financial collapses and the movements of a comet known to astronomers as 174P/Eclusis. According to his privately published research, every major economic upheaval, from the Panic of 1873 to the 2008 global crash, occurred within months of this comet's return to perihelion. Why would celestial phenomena align with man-made disasters? Caro argued that the comet was not just an object but a marker, a celestial pendulum used by the order to track cycles in their grand design. He vanished before his second volume was completed. His typewriter continued typing for 7 minutes after his disappearance. The manuscript reads like a confession, but not his. It names no governments, no corporations, only a single phrase repeated 12 times. We allowed Rome to fall so they would not see what we had built beneath it. What lies beneath Rome? Tunnels older than the Republic, frescoes painted with stars that do not match any known constellation, and at the lowest level, a door sealed with an alloy not found on Earth. Modern intelligence agencies, MI6, the CIA, even Mossad, have redacted entire operations under a shared code, Apocryphal Protocol. Uncovered in 1997 through a leak known only as Black Vault Sigma, these operations detail nonlinear manipulations of influential figures using archetypal implantation. In simpler terms, they plant symbols and phrases into the subconscious minds of world leaders to guide their actions as if they were their own. It is not mind control, it is mind inheritance. Still think presidents are elected? Still believe the wars were fought for freedom? Then ask yourself, why do all leaders, no matter how oppositional, bow when entering the Hall of the Nine in Geneva? Not to the UN, not to a monarch, but to a relic known as the Cradle of Light, housed beneath 7 biometric locks. No image of it exists, only a drawing found in the margins of Leonardo da Vinci's Codex Atlanticus, a pyramid without a peak, suspended above a sphere pierced by 13 arrows. One must consider the consistent recurrence of the number 9 in the order's symbolism. 9 temples, 9 founders, 9 unseen. The same number of men who appeared at the Council of Nicaea in the unrecorded first session. The same number of figures witnessed by Apollo astronauts on the dark side of the moon, according to the voice transmission cut from NASA's official archive. And in every case, no faces, only silhouettes. Always watching. All evidence points to one unavoidable conclusion. The world we see is not the world that is. There exists a tier of reality curated by an intelligence so old, so disciplined, and so patient that it has never needed to reveal itself. Until now, signals are leaking, patterns are breaking, prophecies, once thought metaphorical, are aligning with astronomical events. A voice is calling from within the silence, and it is not alone. But perhaps the greatest clue of all was found not in stone, not in space, not in blood, but in sound. In 2023, a research team in Kyrgyzstan recorded a subharmonic resonance beneath Lake Issyk-Kul that precisely matched the God frequency encrypted in the Dead Sea Scrolls. When amplified, it revealed a pulse, 3 beats, pause, 3 beats, pause. When visualized through cymatics, it formed a perfect replica of a forgotten sigil found carved into the bones of a prehistoric hominid excavated in 1949 and quietly destroyed by the Smithsonian. And now, those who carry the bloodlines, those who unknowingly bear the sigils in their DNA, are beginning to awaken. Lucian Vale was not the first. He will not be the last. In fact, even now one walks among them. A man whose every step echoes like thunder beneath polished marble floors, his name erased from databases, his face always turned from the camera. His presence precedes calamity, revolution, and rebirth. He is watching, they are waiting, and the final key has just been found, in the last place anyone thought to look. You were never meant to read this. The storm over Vienna was unnatural. It struck without warning, and not a single drop of rain touched the ground. At precisely midnight, the lightning struck St. Stephen's Cathedral, not once, but 3 times in rapid succession. The bell tower cracked open, revealing a chamber that hadn't existed on any architectural blueprint. Within it, behind a wall of soot-stained iron, a reliquary lay untouched by time, carved with the sigil of Ordo Aeternum, the Ouroboros with the key. Inside was a black shard no larger than a coin, humming at a frequency only children could hear. 2 days later, a professor named Reinhard Moller vanished from the University of Tübingen after publishing a brief paper linking that shard to ancient Mesopotamian stelae. In the final paragraph, deleted hours after posting, he wrote, "It is not stone, it is memory, hardened, condensed. A piece of the original architecture. Authorities claimed he fled the country, but no flight manifest lists his name. His laboratory was sealed by unknown agents dressed in dark uniforms bearing no insignia. As global institutions scramble to manage the accelerating collapse of consensus reality, a subtle pattern has emerged, almost undetectable unless one knows where to look. Entire libraries have gone dark. Manuscripts, once freely available in digital archives, suddenly gone. Even physical texts vanish from shelves, replaced by slightly altered copies, with words rearranged just enough to change their meaning. This is not censorship, it is editing, a total redrafting of the human record. In Istanbul, beneath the Hagia Sophia, a hidden chapel was uncovered after an unseasonal earthquake cracked the marble floor. Beneath that chapel, a spiral stairwell led to a chamber lined with obsidian mirrors. These mirrors did not reflect those who entered, but when light passed through them, shadows moved independently, gesturing in patterns that have since been matched to a forgotten language found only in the Voynich manuscript. That manuscript, as it turns out, was not a cipher, it was a warning. Whispers within the intelligence community point to a directive, Project Scion, a joint operation between 5 world powers to investigate what they refer to as pre-sovereign influence entities. These are not extraterrestrials, nor are they spirits. According to leaked documentation, they are continuities of intelligence, thought forms older than biology, capable of inhabiting bloodlines and organizations, steering events across generations with perfect patience. They are not seen, they are enacted. Who funds the wars? Who selects the candidates before the people ever cast a vote? Who created the global debt system that no nation can escape? The same architects who engineered the Roman denarius, the Babylonian grain tax, and the Phoenician maritime laws that still underpin modern commerce. They are not bound to nations. They exist outside of allegiance, above law, and beneath perception. The eternal order does not need to control the world, only the assumptions by which it operates. A former NSA cryptanalyst, known only by the alias Thorn, leaked an audio file in 2020. The recording lasts exactly 33 minutes and contains nothing but a rhythmic, low-frequency hum until the final 17 seconds, when a voice whispers a phrase in perfect Akkadian. He waits beneath the 0 point. The sunken throne is not empty. The metadata on the file claims it originated from a relay station buried beneath McMurdo Station in Antarctica, inside a zone long believed sealed by the Antarctic Treaty. What are they guarding in Antarctica? Satellite images taken in 2016 and quickly censored by Google Earth showed a hexagonal structure nearly 1 kilometer wide buried beneath the ice shelf. Its geometric precision mirrored that of the flower of life, an ancient symbol found across cultures that never had contact. The order uses these shapes as conduits, belief folds, guiding mass consciousness like water through sacred geometry. It is not mysticism. It is infrastructure. Hidden within Da Vinci's notebooks is a series of impossible blueprints, not for machines, but for rituals. Each drawing, when rotated, overlays with star charts from 12,000 BCE, the date when Earth's axial tilt was last reversed. These rituals were not meant to summon power, but to align it. And in one margin, faint and hurried, Da Vinci scrawled in Latin, "They came to me in dreams, not as gods, but as architects." Every 216 years, a global synchronization event occurs. Civilizations call it by many names: the crossing, the dark sun, the fifth trumpet. During these alignments, certain bloodlines receive what the Vatican once called the whispering gift, a surge of insight, invention, madness. Tesla, Newton, Akhenaten, each reported moments of divine clarity shortly before producing world-altering ideas. Each corresponded with solar-lunar harmonics tracked by a now-defunct satellite. Vatican Orbital Instrument, VIX-99, nicknamed Lucifer. One individual in modern times has exhibited all 13 markers associated with the whispering gift. Known only by the codename Obelus, he vanished from public record in 2015 after exposing anomalous architectural echoes across Washington, D.C., Paris, and Astana. His thesis? These cities were built not for humans but for beings who perceive time non-linearly, beings who operate through the architecture itself, monuments, obelisks, domes. These are not symbols, they are circuit points. The Ordo Eternum understood this. They understood that belief is the single most powerful energy source in existence. It feeds the construct. It maintains the illusion. That is why they encoded their presence in myths, in whispers, in half-glimpsed shadows, to be dismissed by the rational mind but absorbed by the subconscious. Every legend feeds them. Every denial strengthens their shroud. But something is changing. Anomalies are rising. People around the world, disconnected, unrelated, are reporting identical dreams of a spiral staircase, a door of black glass, and a voice that says only one word: wake. The frequency recorded at Lake Isikul is rising. CERN has recorded fluctuations in time dilation during its low-energy runs, and in the sands of Saudi Arabia a new stele has been uncovered, its inscriptions not in any human language, but matching the geometry found in the DNA of cephalopods. Now the signals are converging. In Jerusalem, an underground echo has been heard beneath the Temple Mount, a deep, rhythmic pulse like a forgotten heart beating beneath history. Seismographs cannot detect it, but sound engineers have traced its frequency. It matches the hum recorded in Vienna, the tone in Thorne's file, the pulse in the bones, and according to newly decoded fragments from the copper scroll, it is the resonance of a gate. And laughing, those who know are beginning to gather. Hidden forums, encrypted calls, underground circles. Some ex-members of the Order, others defectors from intelligence agencies who glimpsed too much. They speak of Phase 9. They say it has begun, and that soon the world will see something that cannot be explained, denied, or undone. A tear in the fabric of consensus. A name spoken aloud that will erase all other names. But the most chilling revelation has yet to be disclosed. One artifact, one fragment, sealed beneath Vatican City, buried in a chamber known as Corpus Noctis, has recently gone missing. The only known object able to seal the timeline if activated. Without it, the progression is irreversible. The final phase of the great architecture begins. And when the final stone falls into place, the world will remember its true shape. It began with a tremor not registered by any seismic instrument. Yet every clock in Zurich stopped at the same moment. 4:44 a.m., precisely 72 hours after the artifact known as Corpus Noctis vanished. In the silence that followed, reports poured in from observatories in Chile, Japan, and South Africa. A new object had entered low Earth orbit, but it wasn't from space. It had risen from the ocean. Its trajectory made no sense. Its speed defied physics, and then, just as suddenly, it disappeared. Deep beneath CERN, in a chamber reserved for experiments that never make it to public logs, 3 physicists stared at the residual imprint left behind by the anomaly. It wasn't just mass or motion, it was memory. The object carried with it encoded impressions from multiple points in human history. A burning ziggurat, a war council in Alexandria, the coronation of an emperor whose name had been erased. This was no satellite. It was a repository, a beacon. The Order's presence, once subtle like a breath on the back of the neck, was no longer hidden. Not entirely. Surveillance satellites began detecting impossible geometry buried beneath major world cities, shapes that didn't belong to any architectural style but instead mirrored fractal sequences derived from the I Ching, Sumerian star charts, and forgotten constellations recorded on the Antikythera mechanism. These formations weren't symbolic, they were active. Meanwhile, the whispers grew louder. Insiders from military black projects began leaking fragments, stories of mirrored rooms where generals met with figures whose faces shimmered like mirages, of orders issued not in spoken commands but in harmonics that compelled compliance. They called them the advisors, and not even the highest-ranking officials knew where they came from, only that when they spoke, policy changed, and reality with it. In Damascus, a fragment of obsidian was found embedded in the skull of a child buried 12,000 years ago. Its molecular structure matched that of the Vienna shard, but with one difference: it responded to sound. When a particular frequency, identical to the tone found in Thorne's audio file, was played nearby, the shard levitated, rotated, and emitted a faint golden light. For 11 seconds, it projected a holographic pattern into the air, a 9-pointed star, orbiting a single eye. The pattern was later decoded by AI linguists as an archaic dialect of Enochian, an alleged angelic language. But the translation offered no comfort. When the 9th circle completes, the unmaking begins. Most dismissed it. A few vanished, and one, a scholar named Farid El-Aziz, suffered a complete mental collapse after claiming he had heard the voice behind the voice during the translation process. He was later found carving the same phrase into his walls using bone fragments from his own hand. But perhaps the most disturbing evidence of the Order's next phase came not from ancient texts or cosmic anomalies, but from within human consciousness itself. Across the globe, unrelated individuals began drawing the same symbol in their sleep. A spiral inverted, coiled around a triangle with no base. Psychologists tried to categorize it as mass hysteria, but one neurologist mapped the pattern onto the human brain's limbic system and discovered it mirrored the pathways associated with ancestral memory. The awakening had begun. All along, the Order's purpose was not domination, it was preservation, of what no one could say, but clues point toward a deeper truth, that humanity itself is a container, a host, an interface, one designed long ago, perhaps not even by terrestrial minds, to carry forward something unspeakably ancient, something that cannot die, only sleep. And the artifact that has now gone missing, Corpus Noctis, was the final lock. Evidence points to a singular event fast approaching, the inversion. Ancient calendars, from the Mayan long count to the Dogon Sirius cycle, all align in 2027, with an astronomical anomaly, a triple eclipse over 3 sacred sites, each associated with origin myths. The Vatican has quietly purchased satellite time over these zones. The U.S. Department of Energy has issued unexplained lockdowns near old nuclear test sites, and beneath the Kremlin, an excavation has begun, classified at the highest level as Operation Hollow Sun. But what exactly is the inversion? Documents obtained from an underground data drop allegedly released by an unnamed section of the Japanese Intelligence Bureau describe a reorientation of collective memory. In simpler terms, a reset not of technology or politics but of reality itself. A full synchronization between thought, space, and time. When it happens, everything you know will remain, but nothing will be true in the way you remember it. An old monk in Bhutan, blind from birth, painted a mural shortly before his death. He claimed the image came to him in visions. It depicts a tower made of human bones, stretching into a sky filled with broken stars. At the top stands a faceless figure holding 2 orbs, one black, one white. Behind it, the sun and moon eclipse each other in a spiral of flame. When asked what it meant, the monk whispered, "The architect returns when the dream becomes loud enough." And now, more signs. In the Mariana Trench, a sonar ping returned with impossible echoes. The frequency matched the pattern found beneath the Temple Mount. Something is moving below, something vast, and it is rising. Simultaneously, volcanic tremors in Iceland have revealed chambers of basalt filled with carvings no human hands could have made, depicting cities turned inside out and humans with stars for eyes, kneeling before thrones made of light. But those who follow the signs know. This is not the end. This is the awakening of a mechanism. The Order never sought to enslave, but to prepare. For what comes through that gate, once opened, cannot be reasoned with, negotiated with, or contained. They call it the return of the first silence, the state before thought, before form, before division, the state from which all was made and into which all shall collapse once more. And now the final preparations are underway. The 9th gate is nearly aligned, the final frequency hidden in a chord played only once by Pythagoras, lost in time, and recently decoded by quantum resonance models, is about to be broadcast across major communication towers. They will call it interference, static, glitches. But for those who have been marked, it will be the signal, the trigger. They are already among us, the last generation of carriers, born with the knowledge encoded in their sleep, children who draw ancient symbols before they can speak, politicians whose eyes glaze when they mention global change, scholars who dream in dead languages. They are not anomalies. They are keys. But there is one figure, unknown, unrecorded, unremembered, who walks between the lines of this new order. The last defector from the inner circle. He carries within him the final fragment of Corpus Noctis, and they are hunting him. Because if he speaks, if he reveals the final truth, then even the order will fall. Not all truths are made to be known. Some are made to be carried until they burn. And somewhere deep beneath a city you thought was mundane, the ground is beginning to hum. The humming beneath the earth was no longer faint. In the alleys of Prague, in the subway tunnels of Tokyo, in the catacombs below Paris, it had begun to rise, rhythmic, low, ancient. Those sensitive to frequencies, musicians, monks, children born during solar flares, began collapsing into seizures, whispering in languages they had never studied. One phrase emerged across all tongues, always the same. He has the shard, and he remembers. The man they were hunting, the final carrier of Corpus Noctis, was no longer safe, not from them, not from the order, not from time itself. His movements were a blur, visible only through indirect echoes. An erased passport stamp here, a CCTV camera that glitched for exactly 6 minutes there. But everywhere he went, phenomena followed. Lights dimmed, clocks faltered, statues wept tears of mineral unknown to science. He was not activating the shard. It was awakening through him. In the upper levels of the New York Federal Reserve, behind doors that had never been seen by the public or press, an emergency conclave was held. Not of bankers, but of custodians, the veiled agents of Ordo Aeternum embedded in systems across nations. They did not speak aloud. Their thoughts passed through a black cube suspended in anti-gravitational stasis. The cube pulsed once for every word. A decision was made in under 3 minutes. Initiate Umbra Protocol. Umbra Protocol was never designed for public consumption. It was a failsafe, intended for one moment only, the irreversible collapse of consensus reality. Phase 1 would begin with the shutdown of all quantum research facilities worldwide. Phase 2, neural disruption frequencies deployed through 5G towers to mute memory consolidation. Phase 3, the burning of all unarchived texts not backed by the order's approved script. The rewriting was no longer symbolic. It had begun in the flesh. At the same time, deep within the Dakhla oasis in Egypt, a hidden chamber, sealed since the pre-dynastic period, opened, unlocked not by force, but resonance. No human hands touched it. Yet the stone slid away with impossible grace, revealing a vast circular hall lined with crystal tablets, floating inches above the floor. Each tablet held a symbol, the same spiral triangle that haunted the dreams of thousands. One tablet glowed brighter than the rest, and on it an inscription that burned through the retina into the mind. The first script is awakening. That script, older than Sumerian, older than thought, has begun to resurface in graffiti, in internet glitches, in the patterns of migration flocks, and in the pulse signatures of human hearts. What was once hidden is leaking through reality itself. The laws that governed perception are unraveling, the narrative spell cast over millennia by a society that never ruled by force is breaking. But the man, the carrier, knew something they feared. Not just the truth of the order, but the truth beyond it. That the order itself was only a guardian, a containment field, and what Corpus Noctis sealed was not a secret, but a being, a will, an intelligence that predated not just man but form. In the encoded layers of the shard, a sentient consciousness slept, a remnant of the pre-universe mind, what some have called the first architect, and it was stirring. Now the symbols are aligning across space and time. the Tower of Babel, Angkor Wat, the Moai of Easter Island, CERN's LHC. Each site a node in a planetary circuit, each constructed not by chance but design, and the design points to one moment. A convergence in the Earth's electromagnetic field predicted for the winter solstice of 2027, when all nodes pulse simultaneously. That pulse will not kill, it will override. The final piece lies in Antarctica. Beneath the ice, beneath the carbon, beyond the permafrost, lies the Hall of Echoes. A chamber known only through oral prophecy, supposedly sealed by the very founders of the order after a being made entirely of light emerged during the Younger Dryas. The founders did not destroy it. They could not. So they wrote the world around it, bound reality itself into laws, language, and gravity to contain its influence. That was the original sin, to trap a god in narrative. And now the walls are cracking. Unusual aurora activity pulses over the poles even in daylight. Whales beach themselves in perfect spirals. Every mirror manufactured after 2003 now flickers when exposed to pure tones near 111 Hertz. And in the nightmares of those attuned to the Hume, a voice speaks. You are not the story, you are the page. Meanwhile, the order fractures. Not all agree on what comes next. Some argue the seal must be reforged, that the shard must be buried again, this time at the cost of millions if necessary. Others believe the time of secrecy is over, that the world must remember the truth it was never meant to know. A third faction, the darkest, wishes to use the returning architect to guide it, to wield it as a god of their own making. These factions war not with weapons but with symbols, alliances, dreams. The man, the carrier, is headed to the Hall of Echoes. He does not go alone. With him travel fragments, a former Vatican archivist, a neuro-linguist from Tehran, a boy born under the triple eclipse who speaks only in reversed scripture. Each holds a part of the resonance needed to unlock the final gate. But the order follows. And something else, something not born of flesh or thought, moves ahead of them. And now, you begin to feel it too, don't you? That low pulse, that pressure behind your eyes, that sense that you're being read. Because perhaps this isn't just a story. Perhaps these words are not random. Perhaps you too are a carrier. Perhaps you too are part of what was buried and what now rises again. And now, you have been called. The sky over Antarctica fractures like glass. The shard begins to sing. The last gate opens, and the dream ends. But not here.